Journey into the Unknown with the Founding Discord event. Now, this is a limited time event. A couple things here. You're basically just going to log in and receive rewards. We've seen events like this before. There will be some separate tasks as well. Now, we don't have a preview of these tasks, but you'll get some rewards. This is going to be Rare Crest, Telluric Pearl, as well as a Bound Legendary Crest. And you're saving your Battle Pass starting now, right? Because if you look at it in the preview, there's bonus Battle Pass for the duration of this event. So you should be holding onto your Battle Pass if you're somebody who plays regularly. Trial of the Hordes, and I absolutely love what they've done with this. Now, they've listened to the community about this event multiple times, and in fact, they've even added some of their own changes. So it's nice to see all these, and I think everything in here is really a win. So this mode has kind of received a lot of feedback so far, and most of it is positive, but for the majority of the positive feedback, there's also some kind of, well, what ifs, and the what ifs are things like, can we remove the potion? Can we remove the limitations on the mob health? Can we balance this in terms of resonance? Can we make the mobs scale if we're not going to lower their health? Just something to kind of make the opponent actually get overwhelmed. It seems like the vast majority of players are actually able to keep up with the number of spawns, and it just results in a draw over and over again. For matchmaking changes, you can no longer identify your opponent when matched. This makes a ton of sense. I don't know why this didn't go in the beginning. You can also now re-queue a match without the need to return to a safe zone or West March. This is amazing as well. The queues got so long, people were going out farming, and then after you finally get your match to pop, you'd go in, and then you'd have to go back to West March, queue again, and then go back out to farm. Again, just kind of a nice quality of life change here. For gameplay changes, if both players are still alive at the end of the match, the player who has slain the most non-elite monsters will win. If both players tie for kills, the players who took the least amount of damage wins. Both of those are great. And finally, if there's a tiebreaker on both conditions, the player that killed their monsters first is declared the victor. Absolutely love this. It just lays it out for you exactly what will happen for the outcome, especially if both players make it to the end. Monster kills and damage taken are indicated near your health bar at the top of the screen to show who's currently in the lead. Damage, attack speed, and movement speed for monsters has been increased overall, and the attributes scale the longer a monster remains alive. Now, we've seen some previous videos of techniques where people are just running around, and this is going to kind of be limited, I would think, for the most part. Task changes, and this is specific to just Trials of the Horde. Tasks will now reset on a weekly basis at 3 a.m. server time each Wednesday during the event. So this is going to be a prolonged period. In fact, this event is going to be from September 6th to December 20th. So you'll get multiple tasks, and they even say that if you complete the tasks, additional ones will open up. So looking forward to all that. I personally like this event, and I like a lot of the new events that have come in as well, not just with this particular update. And finally, we have some ranking changes to this event as well. The point system is now updated so that you earn points just for participating in a match. I think this is amazing because, like I said, the queue got so long before, and now there's some incentive for people just to push up to Legend. That's where the participation points will end. Once you've achieved Legend, the system will now revert to traditional scoring, which means more similar to the Battlegrounds, where you can get a win and gain points, and a loss will be a reduction of points. Players in the expert rank or lower cannot lose ranks, so this is going to prevent you from going backwards. And based off rankings at the end of the season, players can even learn legendary gear, purification shards, beguiling dust, and gold, which have also been increased across ranks. So overall, just a bunch of amazing things. Top of that, we have bounties of additional rewards if you complete the weekly tasks, completing a match, killing 150 monsters, picking up 5 combat globes, which can drop in the event to increase kind of the variety and the RNG a little bit within the event. You'll be able to pick up these globes like you would out in open world farming. Defeat 1,000 monsters, defeat 2,000 monsters, and win 3 matches. So overall, absolutely love all the changes there. And like I said, I do like the event as well, but really what I'm most excited about here is just how thorough these changes were and how much of the community feedback that they listened to. And on top of that, they've added in some of their own. There's a couple of returning events as well. Rising Damnation, limited time event. This is going to be from the 9th to the 17th, and you'll be able to complete daily tasks, which you'll receive various rewards for your heroics. Racking up enough completed tasks will also unlock milestone rewards for you. So we've seen a lot of events like this. Also, All Clans on Deck, which is another nice event, which has been around a few times at this point, and you essentially just earn additional rewards for being in an active clan. The more active your clan is, the better these rewards get, and actually they're pretty decent just for doing your daily or normal tasks. Feature updates, and the big one here, which I imagine a lot of the people are watching the video for, is the Battleground combat changes. Players will now receive 30% less damage on top of existing damage reduction effects in both Battleground and the Rite of Exile. Thus, time to kill other players should be increased, leading to more sustained symphonies of blades clashing. I'm not sure this is the best change that we've seen, to tell you the truth. As I have been with all other Battleground changes, I'm glad that they are trying something or implementing something, but I think this is the wrong idea here. When we talk about increasing time to kill, I don't really think that's the problem. I actually think the lethality within the Battleground is the issue, and you might think these are very similar terms, and I agree, they are similar, so it's important to note that time to kill, just from having players receive 30% less damage, might not be affected in all situations. Just because they receive 30% less damage doesn't mean that they actually stay alive any longer. You could still one-shot characters because there's so much lethality in this game. And this is what I'm talking about, the difference between lethality and time to kill. And again, I know they're pretty similar and it might sound confusing. With some of these new essences that have come out for the Blood Knight, I actually think that the Abomination build will break 1 million damage on single hits. So it's important to know that when you're doing 1 million damage, taking 30% of that away is still an enormous number and enough to one-shot players. Another big flaw with increasing time to kill is that this is really going to dramatically affect two classes more than any others. Now, I'm not saying that other classes aren't affected as well, but when we talk about the best two classes at the highest bracket in terms of PvP, they're Necromancer and Blood Knight. And you just made these two classes even better. And this is a huge problem because it's already these two classes flooding every single match. You get into a lot of lobbies where there is no other class other than Necro or Blood Knight. I see posts about this every single day. And this is only going to get worse with this. I think Barbs actually will make a little bit of a comeback here, so anybody who likes the Barb class can rejoice a little bit, but we'll have to see what happens in time. But overall, I don't think this is the right idea, and unfortunately, I'm not on board with this change, but I am glad that they are trying to do something. Changes to resonance levels during matchmaking. When matchmaking against other players in PvP modes, PvP players will now have to retain the same equipment once the match has been found and the confirmation screen appears. What I don't understand about this is it doesn't say that you couldn't take your gear off, queue, and then change gear while still in the queue. This is only once the confirmation screen appears. So I don't know if this will still be able to be exploited in that way, or if maybe the matchmaker only takes that into account once that confirmation screen appears. Maybe that's when your MMR is calculated, so to speak. However, people will just find another way to go against this, right? If it's now taking your resonance, then you can essentially smurf in a manner by using just the most powerful gems per resonance value, if that makes sense. Gems like Phoenix Ashes, which have low value for the amount of resonance it provides, are easily outperformed by something like Mother's Lament. So now players may choose to use Mother's Lament far more often than the Phoenix Ashes, just leading to certain gems being excluded altogether. And since it's just using your resonance to base you, there will be a magic formula to what the exact best gems to queue for Battleground become. And this may vary a little bit depending on your class, but that's what I don't like about this. It's going to pigeonhole people, at least those that want to min-max or care about the win rate, for the absolute meta setup here. So again, not really on board with this change. I understand there were a lot of people abusing the matchmaking by queuing without gems and then getting in. I'm just not sure this is the appropriate fix. Invisibility updates. Tweaking the conditions for invisibility across Sanctuary. Essentially what they're saying here is when you deal direct damage to another player, it will break your invisibility. This change affects any direct damage done, as well as any passive damage from auras or effects that trigger off attacks from the players. Player invisibility will not be affected by any damage over time or lingering ground damage that existed before the player became invisible. This is basically saying that if you have anything already on the target, once you go invisible, that won't pull you out of it, but if you then use anything once you've become invisible, it will remove you. 10 new levels to challenge rifts. I haven't got a chance to get in here either. Actually, challenge rifts the last couple of go-arounds have been really a letdown. They're not appropriately named, and what I mean by that is they're not a challenge, right? For a lot of players, it's just a race for who logs in first on the day, and that's really, again, just been a huge disappointment. I have not had any interest in personally pushing them myself. I just feel like it's not even interesting to watch because you just see who logs in, and then they clear it, and then it's over. And it's like nobody was really working up to anything. They were just ready to go when it comes out. Really kind of eliminated the essence of what the Challenge Rift was, in my opinion. I'm really hoping that at least maybe the next 10 levels are something worthwhile. Changes to rank 1 clan advantages. When Shadow clans reach rank 1, the bonus leaps and bounds, which is the 10% increased marks earned by your Dark Clan members, will now always be available. This is an interesting one for me. I like this and dislike it. Essentially what they're doing here is allowing everybody to get the marks buff first. Now, the marks buff is nice for people that are interested in the leaderboards. And essentially, the reason I dislike this is because it doesn't really matter where your clan stands. If your clan is ranked 1 to 10 as a shadow clan, that doesn't ensure that you have a spot in the Rite of Exile. You could easily make the Rite of Exile by winning a Shadow War and getting your clan in as well if you upset one of those rank 10 teams. At the same time, it's kind of like you could have just eliminated it. You didn't have to give it to everybody. You could have just eliminated it as well, and nothing really would have mattered. Then if it's eliminated from everybody, it's irrelevant, right? It doesn't matter who gets it or not. So the fact that they chose to add it means that you miss out on something else. And in the long run, it really doesn't matter. You could definitely skip this on the vast majority of servers as long as you're okay with your clan ranking not saying 1 next to it, which again is irrelevant. It has no influence on whether you win the Rite of Exile or the free-for-all. And you can get in even as a rank below 10 and win that way. So just kind of an odd change to me. Doesn't quite correlate with the other things. And given how many bugs and issues this game has in other places, this just seems really out of place. The class balance changes have been interesting as well. And I've read through these, and I'm not going to go through every single item right now. I think what I'd actually prefer to do, given that we now have 24-hour cooldowns, is just cover 1 or more classes with actual builds that are going to make use of some of these things. I think that'll just be the better way to kind of approach this situation. However, I will say that in general, some of these didn't make much sense to me, but it'll be interesting to see how they work in conjunction with the damage reduction in regards to PvP. But some of the PvE changes that I've seen really just seemed out of place and almost unnecessary. So going to see if maybe I can make some builds out of things that have been altered, or if anybody else potentially comes up with some as well. I'd always be happy to share those. It'll be kind of exciting and fun to see if I can make use of any of these. As always, thanks for taking the time to watch, and have a great day.